road to the international for Eastern Europe. Regional qualifiers for 2025 are well underway, and we're a few series deep, and we're a few games deep into this series in and of itself, Danog. So game number 1, dominated by Corrupted on his axe. Game number 2, what are we going to get?
Maybe an axe ban? You never know. That could be the way that they look to try and approach this. But I think there are enough busted heroes that you don't need to just go super reactionary. I really do feel like that lane could have been very different if he just didn't have that first blood, for example. And maybe you made a few more rotations, because realistically, what was Oracle doing there the entire time other than just kind of standing around and leeching some XP? You know, it wasn't really impacting anything of what Axe was trying to do. He was cutting waves from like 6 minutes onwards, and at that point maybe it's time for you to make the move that Gilgear did and, you know, make an outnumber happen on one of the side lanes, which led to Centaur dying, and then the snowball just kept rolling and rolling. Yeah,
it really did feel like that the Oracle should have been very reactive to the Dark Willow. Obviously that whole bunch of kit can do quite a lot of work for you. So we'll see what the change is going to be this time around. So Nemiga, they're the ones that get the first pick this time around, so they're able to opt into the Ancient Apparition. But it's just going to be a response to the Dark Willow. Just another one of those heroes that is very, very strong at being able to do a whole lot of work. And as you said, Gilgear / Grip is a very, very proficient Dark Willow, some may say. So being able to pick that up for him is really, really big. Also, before we get a little bit deeper, I do want to touch on the fact that for a lot of these closed qualifiers, I feel like when you have these teams that are kind of on the fringe, aka like one move, having them in this boot camp, like this Avulus boot camp, is actually should be very, very big for them, especially with the momentum of being able to win one game and be able to keep that ball kind of rolling for them, and as you know, considering they're all in the same room.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it does make things a whole lot easier just to be able to get that instant communication. You can't just run and hide from any sort of mistakes. And I was reading an interview that Astini did, coach of Paravision, recently, and he kind of echoed the statements that Quinn had also made, where these Eastern European teams, they're not ones to like just sit back and let things fester. If something happens, they address it here and now. And I feel like, again, at a boot camp, when you can see your teammates right there, you've got your coach right there, it's just so much easier to be able to do that and wipe the slate clean and start fresh.
Yeah, and I think it also enables you to obviously have a lot more of the nuances when it comes to body language and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, we're getting too deep in the psychology. I feel like I could read books for days about about esports psychology. But as you said, Axeban here. I feel like a lot of these, I don't want to say targeted towards Corrupted, but obviously trying to dwindle the offlane pool seems to be a strategy for a lot of these teams. Centaur's gone, Axe is gone, Darkseer's gone, Bristleback's gone, Beastmaster's gone. Like, what is really left at this point?
What else could he pick? Maybe Mars is still in the pool. Not really something mega strong that they've been looking to try and get lately, but I mean, Abaddon's still there, but are you really worried about Abaddon if you've got an AA? Probably not. Death Prophet, kind of a similar sort of thing. It really just depends if they've, again, got the tools to be able to jump the backline. Like, if you... I feel like that's where they're going to be prioritizing these next few picks, is how are we going to be able to find out this AA and kill him before the team fight even begins. And once that happens, I don't think they're going to commit even more offlane bans.
All right, so Dirge response here from one move. To be able to get
Give me a Snapfire.
A very tanky hero to be able to try and secure that safe lane for them. Wouldn't hate it. Gives them a lot of that extra splash damage to mean that the Shadow Realm isn't just a straight up get out of jail free card. Also, as you know, the whole point of it would be to take down the Tombstone.
Yep. You're able to, you know, deal damage from a fair ways away as well. It does mean that you've got two kind of similar supports, I suppose, but I wouldn't hate it, right? Just because there are still so many different heroes that you could look to combo together. It would make Mars a viable option for Nemiga to even pick up for themselves, you know? Like, sure, it might not feel great into the Undying, but again, the way to beat Undying in lane is to not lane against the Undying most of the time. You just try and, you know, get boots of speed early on and pull waves, and then there's nothing really that an Undying can do about it. So I wonder if they're going to look to consider going down that avenue on Nemiga.
We'll see. We'll wait and see indeed about how they want to play out these lanes and what the thought process is very, very deep in the reserve time now for Nemiga. They have definitely started to pull a lot of these different things out of the hat. So it is going to be the Muerta who will be the response. So, as I said,
that's like a attempted block pick, you know? Like, it is one of the more popular position ones these days, and the Morphling's gone, the Nature's Prophet's gone, the TA's gone, the TB's gone. So, you know, are they just trying to take away the last, at least in their opinion, good hero that they've got to be able to go to on one move?
Potentially, but I feel like you're kind of playing into one move's hands there, like, you know, talking into the mentality of a lot of these closed qualifiers. Like, yes, you still do have that second life of the lower bracket if you're Nemiga, if you do lose this game, but you know, if you're already going into game number 2 where you're burning so much of your reserve time and your second pick is a block pick that's not really playing to your strengths, like that already feels like you've lost a mental game before it even starts, right? And now you get the Ursa Warrior is such a great counter pick to that Pangolier. Very, very scary for the Ancient Apparition. If you have an angry bear that gets in your face as an AA, you are just dead. There's just nothing you can do about it. So I feel like right now one move are in a very, very aggressive position. I'm not quite sure how I feel about the Ursa Undying lane, to be perfectly honest with you, but combining it with a lot of these other heroes that seem to kind of set up a lot of the fights for these heroes seems like it's going to be fun.
It does, and now you've got a way to be able to address the Pango as well if he does get off the Rolling Thunder too, with the Pulverize from the Primal Beast. So, I mean, I was thinking where the Undying, the Ursa was picked, they could consider something like a Medusa. Like, yeah, you're probably going to get Diffusal Bladed, but there's nothing really that an AA can do against you. There's nothing really that, again, the Stone Gaze would have been good against the Rolling Thunder, but not going to be the way that they're going to do this. Are they going to have damage issues on Nemiga is, again, my question. Like, yeah, this Muerta could be a position 4 still. It's being picked as a pos 1 a little bit more frequently these days. But it seems like that might be the case, and you talk about ways to be able to quickly burst down the back line. Sven is at the top of the list. You know, again, this is something that I was talking with you in the quote-unquote green room about why TA is so good now, why Ember Spirit's being picked up a lot more, and hell, the Sven can probably be in the same category. Gossamer Cape does not exist anymore, so it feels like that is a huge buff for all of these heroes that just dish out that frequent damage either at the very start of a team fight or every 5-6 or so seconds.
Yeah. So just, you know, these small little tweaks may seem inconsequential to certain people, but as you start to see it starts to get, you know, compounded, you know, maybe there's a few buffs here or there when it comes to these heroes, and then these items that really, you know, when you think about it, can kind of neuter them a little bit more. So when they're removed, things can change quite a lot, as we can already see with a lot of these hyper contested heroes. I feel like Bristleback and TA are going to be those heroes that you're potentially going to be seeing a whole lot more of. In that previous series, you know, our little English gentlemen were talking about giving up the TA and being able to deal with it, and maybe that's potentially something that we're looking here for one move, being able to, you know, give up the Ancient Apparition and try and deal with it that way with these very scary tanky heroes. So
it does feel like they need a bit more of the team fight, and that's why, you know, Ember, why the Puck are being banned out at this point. Feels like it wouldn't be a terrible Razor game, but again, it doesn't really offer that much in the form of team fight, and this does. You know, another way to be able to jump in onto the back lines. The Primal Beast can still be played as an effective mid, though, and I feel like you'll have a pretty decent time. Again, the Pango is going to be useful to be able to just get away from Ursa, not really be too vulnerable there. It's actually going to be a Bat Rider coming through last. Okay, so is this a mid Bat? Looks like it is.
Okay, all right. I was going to say potentially it could be a nice little counter pick that we can have for one move, and Difference seemed very confident with that Bat Rider pick. That was basically a snap pick, like pretty much straight away. Even saw in his player cams, he looked pretty happy with that looking back at the coach. So we're looking at one move right now. I think just this is pure vibes. This is raw vibes. It feels like one move have a lot of confidence from game number 1, and they have just picked a draft that they wanted to play. Whereas the side of Nemiga, very reactionary. It very much feels like they went into it saying, okay, we want Ancient Apparition, and then what's our game plan after that? kind of question mark, you know? And they've just picked a few heroes that are a bit reactionary to what was picked here from one move. And it really does feel like that unless they get off to a roaring start for Nemiga, I feel like that they're already kind of half defeated in their own brains with, you know, how that first game went.
Yeah, I'm really just looking for... I think Sven this game is going to be the thing that decides it for me. You know, you're just able to flash farm so effectively. All these heroes, and it surprises me that it took people so long to be able to figure out. If you've got an inbuilt farming mechanism, you're just great. You know, it's kind of why I'm surprised that we haven't seen a little more of the Magnus so far in these qualifiers, just because you can go out, right? You can either go the Eternal Empower facet and just have that for yourself, or you can go the Shockwave build and perhaps be a little bit more involved in team fights without having to give up all of your farming potentials. So something like a Sven where all you really need is a few stacks, you're going to use the first few God Strengths just to be able to farm up that little bit more effectively, and then once you do join these team fights, either through an Aghanim Scepter or through a Blink Dagger, you're able to, you know, get off on the right mark, be able to find that quick burst kill, because you know they've got the follow-up there in the form of Pango, Void Spirit, and I'd say that's probably about it. You know, the Muerta, sure, might be able to contribute with a dead shot or something like that, but I'm not expecting this to be, you know, an AA... kind of like what we saw last game, right? Axe Blink Call into AA Blast makes sense. You don't have that same level of impact, I think, with this Nemiga draft.
Yeah. You don't really have that, as you said, just kind of that I'm trying to find an eloquent word. Yeah, 1-2 punch, that kind of like snap, like this is what we're doing, everything hits at the same time, and you pretty much get yourself a kill out of that. Takes a little bit more finesse and a little bit more lining up for this Nemiga draft. So we'll see if that's able to pull this one out and completely change what my Viber meter has been able to land on when it comes to the mentality. So we'll see.
How accurate is your Vibo meter over the years?
I feel like my Viber meter's been pretty on point for a very long time. It's just now that I'm actually speaking it into existence, and it sounds a lot less cool than what I thought it was in my head. There's definitely someone in Twitch chat just being like, "Ooh, vibes, bro. Yeah, very smart caster." You know, but whatever. We're here now.
That's all you need. That's all you need is vibes.
Exactly. That's how we get to. That's how we've been casting together for so long, Matt. You know, it's all about vibes. You can talk about numbers and hero pick rates and stuff as much as you like, but at the end of the day, if your team's not vibing, then you're not winning.
I mean, that kind of did feel like what TI 8-9 OG was pretty heavily around vibes, to be honest.
Exactly. It's just sometimes you just feel a pick, and we've seen it in multiple of the the true sites and stuff like that. Sometimes a player just says, you know what, I'm vibing this hero. I haven't seen it in 2 years because it's been Garbo, but I'm vibing it. And sometimes that's all you need. So maybe that's what One Move are relying on here is raw vibes, because it seems like they've picked a lot of heroes that they're very, very confident with, and I'm not saying that Nemiga haven't, but like another Grandmaster 2 hero here for Corrupted.
I was just about to say that, like another Grandmaster hero.
It went straight into this Batrider, like it seemed like something that he wanted to play, and the Void Spirit really just kind of pushed him in that direction. He was very happy about it, so we'll see if it works.
I mean, it's just so obnoxious to have to play against a Batrider as a melee hero as well, right? It's kind of pretty similar to what happened last game, right? Like, Young G, he was on the giving end of the ruining of the Void Spirit's lane, but he's not going to have as easy a time this time around for sure.
The Vibe Ruiner was Young G last time, or BB. He's copping a lick, and once again, it's the first blood here in the top lane. So nice little start once again here for Covus 9. Thanks to XX Vampire. So BB not putting the smackdown on that you would hope from a Dirge. And this is kind of what I talked about in the draft, right? Where it felt like, Undying Ursa lane. I mean, on paper it seems kind of scary, but it seems like Nemiga have two very good heroes against this Undying to kind of just kite him around a little bit.
Vulnerable to the same stuff, basically, right?
Yep.
Like, you're going to be able to interrupt this pull. Looks like they probably will. Never mind. Range creep. Going to get caught out here, but not the worst for XS Vampire. Wondering when they are going to be able to drop that Tombstone as well. Again, I would imagine that it's going to be some movement speed coming out pretty shortly for Vampire, because again, he just wants to be able to bully these melee heroes as much as possible. Of course, get away from the Tombstone as well.
able to walk in and out, go back and forth. And also with this as well, Eyesight's just not able to put the
here we go.
smack down.
Oh, missed the blood grenade.
It's just not close enough, so we're going to be able to deal with this. Nice and calling as well to be able to go down here on a BB. Has a lot of those stick charges though, so he's able to get the free kill here. And this Pango. Ooh, I imagine if that dead shot hit, BB probably could have been going down once again. But yeah, it's just the kind of snowball effect, right? The fact that XX Vampire is able to deal so well with BB means that the Undying can't pressure out Covus 9, and that means that Eyesight isn't able to get this early level lead to be able to bully out the Pango by himself, and it's kind of a snowball effect. So looking very similar to game number 1 here, Matt, where it feels like the early couple of stages have been going very, very well for the side here of Nemiga. Oh, that's a nice little dead shot there to be able to bring BB back into the clutches of Covus 9. Access Vampire.
He's getting some nice double decays, but the thing is, like, you need to be getting a lot more out of this than what he has been, right? Like, you're an Undying. You need to be constantly buying regen for yourself. And if you're not getting kills, you're not exactly farming, right? Ursa needs to be the one picking up 99% of that farm. So I feel like eventually they're just going to run out of juice for him to be able to play around. So the fact that they're not really getting too much of anything is such a big downside for one move on this top side of the map.
Especially now that Covus 9 has Bracer plus Boots and a full Magic Wand. Pango is pretty happy with how this lane is going. I know we're focusing quite a lot on top lane, but I feel like that is probably a pretty volatile space for them to be able to play around with. You know, looking at mid lane, Young G versus, different Batrider's going to do Batrider things. Young G's actually doing relatively well. 21 and 8 up against the 18 and 7. So he's actually ahead when it comes to levels. So Young G's doing a very, very good job.
Corrupted's like 300 net worth ahead of a Sven, and he's getting a lot of this XP solo. So, and just one of these things where they were able to manipulate the lanes so that he's able to get a lot of these early levels for himself. And Ilgia is not going to allow Bashka to be able to get a lot of this completely uncontested. He's going to be annoying. He's going to try and maybe drag the creep wave away, force a little bit of this damage into the tower, and that's exactly why they go for this move now, because you're going to need to make a decision. Do you try and live? Do you try and fight? Do you try and go for the tower defense? Might end up just not dying, but not getting too much out of that at all.
Yeah, just with that, a little bit of extra move speed from Warcry just meant that Bashka was just slightly further away from Corrupted than we really wanted. Especially with the 2 levels in the Storm Bolt. We're going to get a 2P down here from Monodrama, so Grip's going to be able to at least get the Bramble Maze here. Does miss out on the Blood Grenade. They want to see if they can try and get back on top of Bashka. A few more auto attacks. They get it done. Grip finishes it off, or Gilgear, as some may know him. The Corrupted.
Yeah, ended up feeding him over a healing salve as well, by the way. Activates the Marsh Mage. Okay. Being able to get away. Yeah, he didn't actually have the mana for the trample there, so nicely done by Grip to be able to feed him over that first healing Lotus, and ends up picking up the second one as well. So once again, a really solid offlane duo coming out here from Grip and Corrupted. I mean, even
it really feels like
Vaja previously as well, so he's changing his name up. Top side, maybe
TP out.
Danger.
Ooh, no. TP is too strong. What I was going to say is it really feels like that's kind of going to be the strong point here for one move. Is their offlane. Really feels like that they can give Corrupted or Vaja.
3 down here, by the way. They're really looking to try and contest this this Wisdom Rune, but I don't know, can you afford to have all 3 down here, considering Pango just died and he died with TP there available? So he's not going to be able to get back quickly enough. Yep.
They want this tower. They want this this Wisdom Fountain. Corrupted is very tanky though. 1300 HP with a chainmail and boots. Oh, that's a beautiful dead shot. That was well played there by XX Vampire. And now it's potentially going to turn into a few more of these kills. The cold feet goes down onto Corrupted. He loses his life. Indifference wants to hold out onto the high ground, so they're just going to leave it be. But taking out Corrupted, that's a big scalp to get.
It is, and I'm not sure if they necessarily needed to do it, right? Like, they've got this hold on. Someone else is going to die. Gilgear ends up falling down. Will they be able to get a trade for it?
Bashka! He does not have the stick. And now with the TP coming back in here from BB, they will just TP out on the side of Young G. So they lose their Sven for that, but they pick up another kill there on a Grip. That's a lot of experience going the way here for the side of Nemiga, right?
It is, for sure. I really don't know why they chose to, you know, move over and try and contest that. Like, yeah, you ended up getting the spend kill eventually, but it really felt like that was only because they stuck around for a little bit too long, right? It was a 1-for-1 Wisdom Rune trade, and they had complete understanding of where everyone was, just because no one was showing it all on the top side of that, top side of the map. So I'm surprised that they did choose to continue with that, as XS Vampire says hello to the grave once again.
Yep. That was walked in and trying to contest the power rune against BB. BB said thank you very much for the regen rune. Dumped a little tombstone and Indifference did the rest. So very aggressive from both these two teams. 8 minutes in, 8 kills. Seems like there's a lot of different spots on the map that both these two teams really want to occupy. Kind of understanding the pitfalls from game number 1, Nemiga. Just trying to be a little bit more receptive to a few more of these aggressive maneuvers and trying to be a little bit more on the front foot themselves, because I think that's really what kind of shot them in the foot. They just let Corrupted do whatever he wanted.
Completely. I think that's the area that I'm really enjoying from them so far, is that they are choosing to try and do a lot more of this aggression. Sorry, Difference isn't going to be able to chase down Young G in the mid lane. But the thing is, look at the warding game that they've been able to get up here by one move. You know, they just had one de-warded inside of their jungle, but it's basically spot the spend stacks, and that's going to enable a mid Bat Rider to very quickly take that. A Primal Beast, also with maxed out trample very shortly, is going to be able to take out any sort of stacks that are being built up. So I'm expecting even some deeper wards, like Gilgear's placed one down on the bottom line of the map, maybe kind of underneath the tier 2 tower is another option as well.
Yeah, just really looking towards, as you said, spot the spend stacks. So we've got some good vision so far, and probably potentially could be expecting the same thing coming in from the side of Nemiga, right? Like trying to go towards the triangle and see what Difference can get. But as you said, there's going to be a smoke coming here. So let's see what Corrupted and Grip can find.
Luck is favoring the Bat Rider, although I'm not sure if he went with that smoke being revealed a little bit too early here.
They go in here onto Young G. The fear comes in. They'll have to lasso if they need it, but it will just be the pulverize instead. Young G cops it from every angle.
And that's, I know it's not that hard, but again, the comfort from just having the confidence to be able to say, all right, Dark Willow, you start out the fight, lays down the Bramble Maze, make sure it connects onto the Void Spirit, and then that just secures the kill completely.
Just having
Still has the Arcane Rune, by the way, so we'll be able to start chasing him down. Almost level 9 as well, so we'll be able to have that 5th point in the Sticky Napalm with the Arsonist facet, and he's actually going for a Dragon Lance, so really going to be starting to do a whole lot more right-click damage in the not-too-distant future.
Really trying to build up the Smoldering Resin innate, trying to get that little bit of extra attack damage, and as you said, with the Arsonist facet, it just means that he really just wants to build up a lot of those big Sticky Napalm stacks and seeing how much damage he can potentially do. So we are at a point now where it is looking like a tipping point for me. You know, in the next couple of minutes, if we see that Difference is able to get, you know, an extra kill with Lasso, they're able to link up once again with Corrupted. He gets another kill with Pulverize. If it's on a core or two, things can look scary, but they're looking to see if they can turn this back around. Monodrama goes in, Difference gets smacked down, oversteps, didn't see the AA, and loses his life here. Bat Rider.
Does indeed, and we're already seeing a big difference here in the way that Monodrama is playing, as well as XS Vampire tried for a good play, but it didn't end up needing it at the end. The difference between him playing a proactive versus a reactive hero, right? Like, AA is not a reactive hero. You want to be going out making plays with your team, and that's just exactly what he's been doing, moving to the bottom side of the map past the tier 1 tower, being there to be able to gank the Bat Rider before he gets a few of these big items for himself. Really enjoying the way he's playing this game in particular. And they're going to go for another smoke, realizing that by the time they get to that top lane, 15 seconds away is the Ice Blast cooldown. They'll be able to pick off someone very quickly. If it's Bat Rider again, that would be amazing, just to continuously put him in the grave.
Oh no.
He's counting down the timer on that ulti.
I won't lie, that was
He's able to find him out, gets the Resonant Pulse as well. They threw out the Ancient Brush and Ice Blast and Difference. Lights the dust, so 2 deaths in a row here for the Batrider. I believe they saw him TP top when they were trying to go into Covus 9, so it just meant that they knew exactly where the Bat was, and one of those heroes that really needs to have a good start, and especially now going in towards his Dragonlance build, it's going to feel a little awkward, especially because, you know, getting towards the end of the Battle Fury here for Eyesight, pardon me, and just looking towards Corrupted to try and take a little bit of pressure off his cores. But Nemiga, as you said, much more proactive in this game number 2 here, and really trying to pull themselves back into this series.
And they're really wanting to defend this top tower. It's kind of the same thing that I was mentioning previously, right? How important it is to be able to keep this area of the map as farmable as possible, but looks like they'll be able to get away. So Tombstone being dropped, TP's being used, but not really getting too much out of it on one move, except just keeping that tower available for themselves. So I wonder if they're just going to back up, get this this Wisdom Rune at the 14-minute mark, and then look to engage again onto that tier 1 tower up top, because you don't want to give Eyesight again just unopposed farm on this top side of the map. He's shown how quickly he's able to make an impact if you give it to him.
Especially on a hero like Ursa as well. If you leave him be for a little bit too long, he can reach that critical mass where he's very, very hard to deal with without any of these extra items. And that's when they can really start to get this snowball rolling here for one move. But it's kind of showing a bit of the pitfalls.
Is he getting a solo kill? Not quite. Doesn't have the mana to TP. Just had to pop the clarity to do it.
He gets out, but as I was saying in regards to the one move draft, it's kind of the pitfalls they have. They really do rely on basically this Batrider or the Primal Beast just running in and catching someone. So if you throw down this early Tombstone, it is very, very hard for them to keep the fight around it.
Yep. Looks like they're going to prioritize the mid tower, which totally fine. Just wanting to make sure that you're taking away a few more of those avenues to be able to counter-initiate, to, you know, smoke quite so easily, to be able to move across the map. Again, like you mentioned, this is even Ursa, once you get to that point, you know, he's going for, I wonder if he's going to go Sanjin Yasha, just because you are going up against, you know, the stuns coming through. It's the only thing that still has status resistance, even though it's only 15%.
Oh, it's a fight here around the outpost, and unfortunately for Difference, he's been found out once again by another Ice Blast.
Okay.
They want to see if they can fight out on Young G here. He doesn't have any more Astral Steps, so he just dies. So they at least kept the turnaround here, and maybe they're able to get this kill onto XS Vampire as well. So yes, they lose the life there onto Difference, but they at least turn it back around with a lot more of these cores collapsing in the area. So one move, they at least don't cop this on the chin. They get something out of it as well.
A lot of gold. Nemiga got something out of it though as well. Oh, hold on, mid-fight, and it's a Pango with Diffusal Blade and Rolling Thunder coming in.
There's no real spells that are left available here for one move, so it's just the course they're going to try and get this Delta split, and hopefully they can just take a lot of this pressure and see if everybody else can walk away. So they don't really get any other follow-up, so I think it's just going to be Grip that's going to lose his life here. Let's throw out the fear, but it is a nice little jump there from Young G to get away from the Terrorize.
And even Eyesight just yoinking away that haste rune, making sure that Void Spirit isn't able to play around it as he looks to farm up this top side of the map. Although he's showing, they know that someone needs to farm this big juicy wave, and that's exactly where all of Nemiga is starting to close in onto. Just assuming that he is going to go again back into the quote-unquote safety of the jungle, but they've read this one perfectly.
Got a couple of seconds left on a TP, and maybe Eyesight gets his spider senses tingling. He does walk away from them, though. Gets back underneath the safety of the tier 2 tower.
Very nice.
Oh. Sometimes Eyesight, it just starts
to tingle. He's got the third eye.
Mm-hmm. That's why he's called Eyesight, baby.
Mm-hmm.
He sees through the fog of war. Oh, BB.
He does not.
Oh, no, unfortunately dead. Yep. TP is too long. And gets caught out, and that is just the life of the Undying, especially when you have, what's it called? Ceaseless Dirge. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. Yes, get that free respawn. I mean, it takes you a couple of minutes to get it back, but at the end of the day,
that's something that carries have, not supports. You know? Yeah. Carries are able to sense that coming through. They were still able to place down that Observer Ward though, so I don't know if he can assume that that's kind of what was happening at that point in time, because obviously Undying ended up dying after the fact. Is he walking into this one though?
Let's be very, very careful about where he steps here. It is a very treacherous kind of area to be in, and as you said, sometimes the spidey senses do tingle, but it's about whether or not they get the required information at the end.
Not the untying
He
again.
gets caught out by Young G, especially with the second scepter, and he just gets found out and killed. Seems like the script has been flipped for the side of one move here. Very, very aggressive Nemiga, especially now that Baska's got so much of this extra net worth. Blink Echo Mom all ready for the Sven. We're at a point now.
What I do like is, yeah, like just to highlight difference, right? Like he's taking a bunch of these stacks that were being made for the Sven, right? Like he is taking away a lot of this net worth in the quote-unquote safe areas because they were able to take away that bottom tier 1 tower. It's the only tower that they've been able to get, but it still is the most important one just because of what it means for how far you're able to get out onto the map. And yeah, he's died a fair few times, but if you're able to continuously cut these waves and just be annoying, be a little bit of a dick, basically, to the enemy team, it just makes it so much more frustrating for them to have to play around.
Seems like there's potentially a bit of posturing coming in here for one move. They have the BKB up now on the Primal Beast, but it's Basko who's been able to find out a grip. Blink Gold Strength, Mask of Madness. Says see you later to that small little Dark Willow, but the rest of this smoke move hasn't been able to find anybody just yet, except for the Sacrificial Lamb that is BB. Corrupted is around, but with no extra damage. There's no real way for them to try and get this fight going. It looks like for the side of Difference as well as Eyesight, they do not want to have a fight like this at all. Corrupted, you did not just walk in towards that area. With the AA Ice Blast, he loses his first use of his BKB as well.
Yeah, not the way that you want to do it. You can afford to give up a support every now and then if it does mean the rest of your cores are farming, but that has not been the case at all. They're even still continuing to push in this mid lane, right? Just letting the creeps do the work for them. And with the way that they've been dying previously, just look at where Grip is standing on the right-hand side. He wants to be farming this, but he's like, I ain't stepping out there. I don't want to go anywhere close to these creep waves because everyone's just dying the second they show themselves.
Yep. And he pushed up towards that top lane just a moment ago, and Sven decided to God Strength and kill him. So it is just at the point now where if you're one move, you really need to try and get some semblance of map control back, because Nemiga is at the point. 20 minutes picks up tormented time for them. They can even potentially look towards the Roche with how large Bashka is right now. Very, very close to finishing off that BKB, and at that point, like, what are you really looking at to try and deal with this Sven? Doesn't look like the Ursa's going to be at the point where he's scary enough to fight him. Yes, you can lock him down with the Pulverize and the BKB, but do you have any damage to do anything? Like, not really.
They're getting into the Roche pit and trying to take it away before it gets to that stage, though, although Ice Blast freshly picked up with the shard.
Oh, that does so much work, and they just astral step in. Young G hits him with the Resonant Pulse as well. They're looking for the Ursa. He wants to TP away. Bashka doesn't get any of these extra hits, so the Ursa will not die to the Ice Blast. They take down Young G, and they take down Cobus Knight out of that Rolling Thunder, but Difference, he's stuck on top of the high ground. Bashka's been able to find him and take him down as well. Now all they are doing is trying to walk away from Nemiga. They do at least get the charge away, so the Onslaught will be able to at least get the Primal Beast far enough away from the Sven, who just copped the Cursed Crown, and Grip is just going to stand there and take the L for his buddy. And that again is just a interesting Roche potential that unfortunately turned into an absolute disaster.
Still standing, by the way, and despite having the potential to just say, all right, one team fight, let's go do Roshan, especially considering what Ursa clearly capable of being able to take it away, they opt to try and chase down this Primal Beast instead. Not sure if it was the best option, especially considering you would have to say, with a tier 1 tower still standing on the bottom side of the map, perhaps it's a little easier for one move to be able to continuously try and contest this. I mean, that mid-air grab of the Rolling Thunder was really cool.
Sometimes
alley-oop and slam dunked him.
I feel like Primal is one of those heroes with these animations really produces some cool moments in Dota. The way that things interact. I do agree with you in regards to one move potentially just trying to constantly force this Roche pit. It is going to be a pretty heavy area of contention.
So the thing is as well with...
It's just PB. want to try and fight though. Okay, so BKBs are plenty. They're going to go forward here on the Ursa. Let's see what they can do. Oh my god. Okay, it's nothing. You can't do anything. It is a no contest. They turn around and Bashka says, 1, 2, 3, you're all dead.
Look at all those calling spirits though with all the deaths, and normally you're very happy, but not if you're the ones on the losing end of that fight. And this is the play that I was expecting to see. God Strength still with about a third duration coming through, and yeah, just the amount of snap damage that you're able to do in that is kind of nutty on a Sven, and why it is one of those heroes, that few melee heroes still being picked up this game.
Like, just watch it. As we look here, I'm like, oh yeah, it's just BB that's saying, okay, they want to try and fight. Let's see what they can do here. Eyesight goes in, they want to try and take down the Sven, but he just turns around and goes 1, 2. And that is just, you just can't even react to that. Like, there is just nothing that you can do. Like, you are just dead. And
it's the old left, right, good night. That's all it is. You know?
That's
what are you
what it
supposed
is.
to do to react?
A straight up knuckle sandwich, and there's just, and this is exactly what you're saying. It's the reason why you have these heroes like Sven who just have so much physical burst that it is so hard to deal with, and they just let Bashka do exactly what Eyesight did in the previous game. He's just had so much free reign that now he's just gotten to the point where he has hit critical mass on a Sven, and they don't really have good ways of dealing with it because they just don't have the damage. Like, look at one move. Like, none of their heroes really do damage outside of the Ursa, but Ursa needs to be on par, if not an item or two ahead of a Sven, to even have a chance of killing him.
I think they do damage. It's just they needed to be a lot more in control at this stage of the game. Like, Difference does not have the net worth that he would have been expecting with... Was it a last pick? I'm pretty sure it was. Last pick
overall, yeah.
Coming through from this. So that's the big thing that's, I think, lacking from their draft at this stage. And this is kind of what I'm wanting to see Gilgil do a lot more, is just push out lanes, put himself in a vulnerable position. And he did that for Corrupted previously, right? Where he put himself in between himself and the Primal Beast when they were going for the chase after the second or third previous team fight. I just want to see him do it in lanes, so that they're forced to defend on Nemiga. Like, his positioning now is pretty good. Stand at the top of the stairs, be there to pop any sort of smokes from the Shadow Realm, and be the one to get the initiation off. Although Lotus...
Oh, the Lotus on the Pulverize is too big there. It's a lot of damage that goes out there on Bashka, but he has a second life, ladies and gentlemen. They at least get the TP out there on Corrupted. Cobusman is going to try and see if they can roll through any of these TPs, and they don't connect anybody, so that felt like it was a little bit more of a gentleman's handshake. They threw out some spells, they popped some BKBs, everyone said, all right, I'm too hurt. Let's go home.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still just looking at the difference between Bashka and Eyesight this game. 4-level difference, and I mean, again, anyone that has the inbuilt farming mechanism like the Cleave that the Sven has, you don't need to buy a BKB, a Battle Fury, so it means that you have a BKB. You can go into solo kill, very nicely done by Gilgir. You don't need to go into these farming items, which means that you're just so much more effective in a lot of these team fights. Imagine if he didn't have BKB in that previous fight. He probably dies during the Pulverize, but because he had it and pops, yeah, you were still disabled for the Pulverize duration. It just, everyone melted within 2 seconds after the fact because you're a freaking Sven, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Being able to use all of this free space with that extra farming mechanism just means that players like Difference, who are supposed to be ahead, unfortunately just keep copying it like this. And I think, obviously if he had his time over again, probably wouldn't have gone for this early Dragonlance, but the prior committal after such a good start to the lane. I understand why he wanted to try and go for a build like this, but when you look at it like this, hindsight is obviously 20/20.
Even just going for the BKB, right? Like, what if instead he went the Blink Dagger, not to initiate, but just so that he could not only take away some of the Sven's stacked camps, but be able to go into the lane, cut the wave, and then blink away so that you're not just giving up your life to an eventual gank. Because you know the gank is coming, right? Especially now that Sven has the Blink Dagger. That's exactly what he wants to be doing at this stage. But, it's just... It feels like he's not influencing the map enough, is essentially what I'm saying here. And he's not going to until he gets Blink, and that's another 1,600 gold away.
Yeah, still a long ways away, and especially with the Sven that's knocking on your tier 3 towers, he's been able to at least take one down Grip did a good job at least trying to slow it down for as long as he possibly could, and meant that they didn't get any more out of it. But there's just so much of this net worth that you have to start clawing back, and it's, I mean, like even looking at these heroes for one move, it's not like we get towards 40, 50 minutes and they just start to instantly take over the game. Like Ursa is a hero that really falls off in the late game, especially in comparison to things like a Sven and a Void Spirit.
Primal.
After Nightfall, he's going to see if he can try and get a kill first. He's going to TP away. He gets it done, gets out as well. So Corrupted. That's a big thumbs up from me, mate.
Yeah. Popping the blade mail. Yep. Got him.
That's why XS by XD. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, sometimes you just get a little bit excited as a support. Kills don't come your way all the time, and when it does, you gotta try and yoink it as soon as you can.
Pretty sure it was from the calling. Yeah. There's nothing really much that you can do. BB. Okay, he's got some spells off. He's got a lot of spells off, and that means now they can go in onto the Sven, and they've been able to blow up the Sven. Okay, so this is definitely a fight, if you are one move, that you are super happy about. They don't have the pulverize, they get the lasso out here onto the rolling ball, seeing if they can take down this pesky Pangolier. They're able to at least walk away from him once again. Has that Aghanim Scepter, so there's a lot of work, but no, Chase gets stunned up by the Bramble Maze once again. And now Isolate getting very, very low. You have to be careful here on the Ursa. He gets away just in time with the Enrage as well. So a huge fight there for one move.
You just see the damage that you're able to output as Vampire as well, though, has actually gone the Boots of Travel. Okay, so wanting to make sure that he's able to join in any gank possible, but also realizes that, with a net worth deficit, probably the way that one move we're going to play is a little bit more of this lane cutty style, and he knows that he's able to join in at any time and get some pretty significant damage coming out as well. Just another way to deal with those waves is the new Aghanim Scepter that he's got, just increasing the range of the dead shot, or the radius rather, and of course the damage as well. So nicely done.
He's able to utilize a bit of that net worth, but what a good fight there for one move. So the first step on the road to recovery for them, but you can just still see Nemiga probably just a little bit overzealous there for themselves, just overstepping their bounds just a little bit here. And one move for more than ready for that.
Hold on, he's underneath an observer ward right now, Young G.
Five-man smoke.
Blink dagger.
Young G. They're able to finding out how much damage do they have. Oh, they're able to take him down. They do with the onslaught stun there from Corrupted. Once again, showing how strong he is. But now, Ashka goes in with the bone strike. We're going to try and see if they get this fight going. Massive lasso comes out for the BKB. Do they have the damage to try and take it on this Sven? No, they don't. He is oh so low there. Finally with the BKB wearing out. He's getting low. He has the barrier coming in from the Glimmer Cape. So this Sven's going to be okay. Then once again, he's seeing so much damage going on to difference. Unfortunately for Grip, loses his life to Cobras 9. There was a buyback out of Young G though to be able to get that kill there on the difference. So a lot of resources expended for both these teams.
I'd say it's worth it though to keep the Sven alive, to keep that the snowball going for him, and you did get the turnaround kill onto the Bat Rider as well. So in terms of mid laner for mid laner, it's pretty big value. The one thing it is going to do is going to set Young G a fair ways back towards this nullifier purchase. And as soon as I see an Ursa, that's really the item that I'm looking for the majority of the time, just because it really does hinder the amount of damage that he's able to do when you're just dispelling off the overpower, especially considering the BKB is already down to 7 seconds. So once that's 6, you really do start to affect his effectiveness, for lack of a better term, in a lot of these team fights.
Exactly. It really does rely on those overpower hits as well, especially as he starts getting higher and higher up in that talent tree as well. Being able to get those extra attacks is very, very important.
The Alpine Ursa set that he's wearing, by the way.
The golden version. It's not the original Alpine Ursa. That is actually the exact same, pretty much the exact same. I was going to say transmog. I'm so wow coded. It's crazy. The exact same set that my Ursa's wearing, except I have the little baby cub.
Very good. What's his name again?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'll check that for you while you talk about Dota.
Not knowing your children, honestly. Hold on, smoke action. You got about 10 seconds, just letting you know.
All right, I've got multiple monitors up. We're good. We're locked in. What's his name? Dipper. Dipper the Destroyer.
Big Dipper.
little Dipper the Destroyer here.
Hold on. All right, so...
What do we got?
Nemiga,
the high ground has been taken, though.
We've got the high ground. Anakin, no!
He walks in, though. He's able to at least try and get a few more of these spells off. Doesn't get down the tombstone, though. That's the problem for him. Go in directly onto the backline, trying to go onto Cobblestone. Gets shrouded up by the Glimmer Cape, so that means that they can't get this extra damage. They finally get it done. He also wants to try and take down the Sven. Turns back around with the God Strength. Eyesight takes him down. So they take two big cores here for the side of one move. They get away from the Ancient Apparition Blood, but Eyesight loses his life after that Essence Ring. Seeing if they can take down Young G here on the backlines as well. They're looking to try and run charge. They catch him out there with the Primal Beast, and the damage is done in one move. Only have one remaining member of Nemiga to take down, and they will eventually get it from Corrupted. It cost them an Ursa, but at the end, it was a price they were willing to pay.
I'm just, again, looking at the damage all throughout. 2 uses of the Shiva's Guard, 2 uses of the Trample, and once again, the perfect Pulverize coming through. He finishes that on basically 0 mana as well, and he's also going to get a completed Aghanim Scepter for his troubles, so just more of that damage that's going to be coming out. Break, not amazing for any of these big team fights, but it is still just going to be such a useful tool to be able to have to disable Blink Daggers, for example.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is you see this fight being started by taking down BB, but they instantly are able to get into the back. Covus 9 doesn't get off the Rolling Thunder. They're able to compete through that, and then they have the follow-up BKB lockdown with the lasso to take down the Sven. They just had enough damage there for Eyesight to be able to get away from that, and the fact that he was able to just live that little bit of extra time meant that Young G took that extra bit of damage coming in from the Batrider, and as soon as the Sven's off the table, like Nemiga, they really don't have any of this other crazy damage. They've been able to find out a couple more here on the Roche Pit. Too busy looking at the replay here as we see a little bit of a stressed look on the face of some of the Nemiga players.
Not like this.
Understanding this game could start to slip away from them, especially if this Roshan goes the way of one move. They're going to go back in. BKB's being popped. They're going to try and take down Excess Vampire here. Goes in towards that ethereal form, gets away from them, but Grip gets deleted by the Sven. Difference wants to see if he can try and get away from the Sven as well. Cut out that BKB, but they're taking so much damage from the Rolling Thunder, and that is just so many members to the side of one move dead. And Difference is the next one that is being locked onto here by XX Vampire. They've got damage from Bashkar. And again, it is just a fight that one move, they really wanted that to be quick and clean, and they just don't get it done.
That was really nicely done by Covus 9, just being able to essentially 100-0 that Ursa. We talked about the importance of the BKB really running low on time, and you actually going to try and commit for this?
He has no BKB, so another 45 seconds until that is up and available. They have no buybacks either, so they're going to see if they can try and draw this out for as long as they can. They've gotten him out of the pit. They've got no HP left. Covus 9 is the only one that's going to go back in. They take down Grip, but with that, Corrupted is a very, very hard kill to try and get here. They do a lot of work trying to kite out this Primal Beast. It is very hard for him to try and get away here, but the Sven is able to walk in and take down the Primal.
Not even attempting to come in and throw in a Soul Rip or a Glimmer Cape, maybe just wanting to ensure that he keeps the gem. It would have been a very risky proposition, but I have to say that even contesting that Roshan was probably the riskier proposition, and they went into a 2v5 situation, which is pretty crazy for mine. And yeah, I mean, what was looking like being a pretty damn even game is now swung back in favor of Nemiga once again.
Yeah, potentially maybe Corrupted felt with the Ag Scepter and the Uproar Dispel. He had enough tools in his arsenal to try and get away from a lot of the members of Nemiga. I guess, you know, if it's only really the Sven that he has to worry about for stuns, that he potentially has a way of getting out. But as you said, risky proposition for the side of one move there. I would have loved that if there was potential for a buyback from the Ursa or even the Batrider, because they were all so low from that fight. But lost a little bit more, lost the Roshan as well. And you can just see that this game is, again, starting to swing back in the favor of Nemiga, but it just seems like a lot of these fights are determined by how these initial first couple of seconds go.
Yeah. Absolutely. It really does feel that way. And the big thing for mine as well is that I like this. You know, if you're dying 3-4 times in a row without too much impact like Young G was, he should just buy the Helm of Iron Will. You're going for the Nullifier. Just that little bit of extra survivability is probably going to do a lot to be able to just keep yourself survivable in a lot of these team fights, and it means that you're not losing as much unreliable gold as well. And as a result of that, they've won the past couple. He's only 75 gold away from finishing the Nullifier, and I'm honestly a little surprised that no one on Nemiga has gone for a Mage Slayer. Seems pretty damn good this game, considering some of the heroes that you're going up against and the fact that these BKBs are running pretty damn low. I think they're all down to minimum duration on all 3 cores. Yeah, surprised if Young G went for that as his next item after he finishes up this this Nullifier. He's still got a bottle and a wand, so he can afford to do it.
Yeah, could look to try and maybe get a little bit more lockdown. Maybe he wants to try and go for a Shivas himself. Potentially could be going towards something along the lines like a Hex or maybe even a Lincoln's. The Lincoln's would be very, very strong this time around. So it's going to be the BKB TP out here from Corrupted.
Didn't get the bash either on the Pango, despite Swashbuckle, Ags with the shield crash. So getting a little bit lucky there, but I'd have to say Corrupted's probably made his own luck through the majority of this game. He's still 10, 3, and 7, so playing a phenomenal one once again.
He's definitely been a standout for me across this series. The last couple of these fights have been either won or lost on the back of his initiations. So we'll see how these next couple of fights are going to go. So pretty much everything is up and roaring here for Eyesight. He's got Ags as well as the Shard, so he's got a whole lot of uptime when it comes to that Enrage. Now looking towards...
Have they seen Young G? I think this might be the first time he's actually gone out onto the lane, because you've still got a Ghost Scepter being queued up by Grip, which totally understandable, but against a Nullifier, I'm not sure if it's the best option. I suppose he's still got the Shadow Realm to keep himself safe, and you only really need like a split second of the Yule Scepter to be able to purge off the silence. That perfect force stuff coming through as well.
I was wondering if that was a bait or if that was just, you know, Grip situating himself in a position to try and bait out something. So they're going to see what they can do here with Bashka on the front lines. Again, that's the second life available, so you have to be very, very careful. Eyesight goes in, doesn't have a good way of getting out of this. That's a nice little stun that comes in there though from Grip. So they've burnt through the tier 3 tower with the Roche banner down as well. It's hard for them to try and deal with these creeps. At least get them out of the aura, but this melee Rax is going to be going down. Range Rax, pardon me. See what damage they can do here on the Bashka. They're going to pop the BKB here from Eyesight. He wants to get this first life. Gets it done as well. In onto the backlight, onto the AA, but that is the lasso that's being reflected there by the word as well. Now they're trying to see if they can survive for Eyesight. He's able to at least get himself away from this Sven, but look at all the damage he does. He cleans through everybody, and now it's all on the back of Corrupted Indifference. How much damage can they do? What can they do? It looks like it's going to be nothing for them. They will have a buyback out on the Batrider, but with nobody else left, and there's no lasso either, it looks like it is just going to be an ultra kill for Bashka, and potentially a game 2 going the way of Nemiga. We could be going the stretch for our first series of the night here, Denog.
I think we might indeed. You've got creeps inside the base. They can choose to take away more of these racks just to make it more of an absolute certainty, but after this melee racks, I'd be looking to whack into those tier 4 towers, at least force some buybacks out, but they should know that the lasso is still on cooldown, so no real need to feeling too anxious about anything. Even nice use of the Void Remnant as well, just to make sure that you need to blink in onto the top side.
Yeah, no BKBs, no ultimates. Corrupted's going to walk in. Let's have the refresher roll, so they have to be very, very careful for him. He goes in with the onslaught here. He's going to pop the refresher. Does have the BKB and the Shivas. Wants to see how much he can get out of them as well. So they come in with the lasso, seeing how much damage they can do here onto the Sven. They're just going to leave Bashka to his own devices. So the Sven is down. Tier 4s are still available for the side of one move. They want to try and get on top of Covert.
Chase the ball.
Can they get close enough to him? It doesn't look like Corrupted's able to. So that refresher at least gets themselves a little bit of that extra onto this Sven.
Okay.
So
I still feel like they were a little too anxious there, you know, like they were worried about losing a very winning sort of game, but you know what, they still get 2 lanes of racks, they still are able to take down one of the tier 4 towers, so maybe I'm overly dramatizing things, but could have just been game right there and then if they were a little bit more, I guess, decisive with some of their movements, but understandably, considering they're already one game down, they didn't want to take that risk.
Yeah, and especially with, Roche potentially spawning in another couple of minutes, you can play the slow game here if you are the side of Nemiga. Because as we were talking about a little bit earlier, it really does feel like that, as the later this game goes, there's probably not going to be too many issues for Nemiga as long as they itemize correctly. And I think the Lincoln Sphere is going to be kind of the cherry on top for a lot of these cores. Once you just start seeing multiple Lincolns as, yes, there is ways of getting around it. Obviously, Batriders have been playing as Lincoln Sphere since the dawn of time, but it just adds that extra layer of breakpoints that means that one move are just going to have to play that much better to get a lot of these different jumps. So we'll see.
Just holding onto the magnifying monocle on the old Void Spirit there. Wanting that extra range so that he can just quickly jump in and get a lot of these silencers and nullifiers off. Not quite yet level 25, so that could be another useful tool if he's able to get into some of this crit, or if he chooses to go down the root aspect, which again, low BKBs, always going to be useful. He's holding onto a lot of gold right now. Has plenty for the buyback, but kind of imagine that he would want something a little bit more effective for a team fight that could be closing the game out here and now.
Difference.
That's why just in time. Or does
close.
he? Or does he? Agreed.
Oh no, difference. Difference.
To read the player. Oh, he's not showing.
Oh, they're going inside of the base.
Oh, they see it.
They see it. They know. Okay. All right. Crisis averted there for one move. That could have been the game right there. I love that play coming in from Nemiga though. Because they understand that all it takes is one core kill. How many buybacks do we have available? None. Not a single one for the side. Oh, actually, it is grip. So
kind of forced to just stay back inside the base right now. Doesn't have the boots of travel on the Batrider either, so if they're going to try and take a team fight, he needs to be coming right now.
Seeing if that catch anybody out, they go directly in onto the Ancient Apparition. They blow him up, so Monodrama is dead.
Not the worst pick.
Okay, Corrupted though does have the refresher orb if he wants to use that second BKB. Corrupted's done such a good job of being able to hold out onto this. No, he gets a... Oh, it's a beautiful save. It comes in there from BB to be able to keep Corrupted away from the AAI splash. Now, with the refresher orb being utilized, they want to try and disengage. One move, walk away from this. Young goes up onto the high... Okay, see you later, grip. The only one with the buyback. Roche. Beautiful blink there. Oh, Roche. Okay, throws BB to a safe little spot. But now with the God Strength, they're about halfway through it here. If you are one move, you need to disengage. And they get that done. So now, if you are Nemiga, you have a perplexing little puzzle. Do you walk into Roche with God Strength starting to wear off, and all people available for one move, or can you back out?
I think they back out for now. Just you've got the gem, you de-warded around the area, you've got your own observer ward up, so they're going to be the ones to get a little bit of information, and they would have known that at least one smoke was used at that time, but they've got another on one move trying to make a big wraparound. Yep, that would be huge. Bringing out his BB. Ooh.
Oh, it's a fake.
Though.
They
Can
do.
you afford to go up here?
Smokes break. Everybody knows the roll of done is coming through. The real question is, where's Corrupted? He's the one that needs to try and get a lot of these different fights going in as well. Isolate. They do not have the amp damage anymore, and as you said, die back there on grip. They got the purge coming out onto Isolate, so they want that amp damage. They want to try and go forward here onto Young J. BKB being popped as well. Difference comes forward. They all get hit by the Ice Blast, and this is where it's going to be the Sven's time to shine. Walks in, please do one. Looks for the second. He's able to take down Isolate. No BKBs, no buybacks available, and Bashka gets the double kill. GG's is called, and we're going to a game number 3. It was all put on the line there by one move in that second fight, but as soon as they didn't get that initial pick with that amplified damage, it was kind of the trap has been sprung, and there's no real surprise left here for one move.
Yeah, you just see the importance of having